G'day and welcome to the next episode of Tech Adept Crafts. We are doing our intro video slightly different this time. We're starting before the project. Why? This thing is unopened yet. The watermill. I did say with my river set that I've been doing that I would go around and do a watermill. This pack I think I bought it at Bunnings and it was $5. That's a really cheap model. It is a really basic model and I'm going to see what I can do with it and add it into the river system that I've already made. There are a number of things that we can do with it, but I'm going to dress it up a bit and make it a little bit more of a terrain piece. Anyway, let's see what we can do here. Hopefully you enjoy the tutorial and the build, and if you do, make sure that you hit like and hit subscribe and leave a comment down the bottom, and we'll see you at the end of the episode with hopefully a finished product. Anyway, see you at the end. Unboxing is always fun, but this is something that I have been waiting to do for a while. Snap out all the pieces, clean them up, and get everything ready to stick together. Then once that is done, I start gluing it together using tacky glue. Once that's done, I start trimming the model. Now this is using balsa wood and I'm adding Tudor style support struts and beams to pretty much the entire model. I'm using this to help cover up the joins of the original build and some of the holes that are being left when I'm moving things around, but this is just dressing. Now you can see a couple of braces, some window frames, because the original window frames just really didn't look all that good, so I've left those off and I'm creating my own window frames for that. Now to create a full timber wall, I'm using balsa wood again and then drawing onto it the timber slats. And that's the majority of the building complete. We're now going to move on to the roof. This is using cereal box card and I am marking out individual slats here. So I will cut all of these out as individual tiles. Unlike my previous roof pieces that I've done, these ones I'm doing as individual shingles, as I wanted it to look far more random and haphazard than what a strip of shingles would look like. This turned out really well in the end. I'm very happy with it, but it does take a long time to A, cut all of those shingles, and B, stick them all down individually. Now going back to the rest of the house build, these are the pylons underneath, and quick bit of a touch up just to make sure that they fit, and that is far easier to have done this now than when I was trying to do all of that dressing before. Now for the water wheel. This I didn't worry about doing any dressing up whatsoever. I just left it as is. It's pretty okay. I don't think it needed a huge amount. I could have added like an extra strip to act like a bucket, but I just thought this is more sort of a paddle steamer sort of wheel. It is there to turn the gears inside the building, so I didn't worry about it too much. Now here's one of the biggest design changes I made. That wheel is meant to sit on the front, and I don't like that, so I'm moving it to the side. That's going to create some serious changes that I need to make. I'm starting to look here now at where I can place it on a board as well, because obviously I want to have this run into my riverboard, and I think having a bit of elevation is better. I'm creating a hill base, and then I'm cutting that out using a hot wire cutter. This is all done, it is done fairly fast. I'm not trying to overthink this. I'm just creating the shape of a hill with a river in it. Then marking out where those pylons are going to go and building up from there. I'm using cardboard just like in the river pieces to act like a bank, and that gives me just that little bit extra elevation so that the water will sit in underneath that. So this hill is using compressed styrofoam, also known as insulation foam, cardboard for the tops, and all being glued together with PVA glue or hot glue, depending on how long I can leave it for. Right, well this is a little bit of a jump from the last lot of footage, an SD card mishap. So I have lost the footage for completing this part and completing the bits down the bottom here. This was using the texture rollers that I've done in a previous episode. I'll put a link up the top. I have rolled that on some very thin foam and just created a little bit of a wall piece, which I've then stuck around. There are the holes cut for this to fit onto. I have stuck all of this down and created the bottom board, and this was shaped just like I did with the river pieces. So this will match up here, and I have sanded and shaped all of this foam. With the river pieces I still need to do the banks on the edge there, and along this line I'm going to create a rock wall. I need to put in some extra beams now from moving that water wheel to the other side, because now there's a gap that I need to fill in. Where the water wheel is going to sit on the board, I'm cutting a space for it to sit into. That way I can have it sitting below the water line, and I'm using a piece of dowel rod that will go into the building, and I'm creating a housing to go around that line. Now moving on to the flooring of this build. The wooden slats that I'm making now are also out of cereal box card, and this is just to give the impression of like a wooden decking. There is the decking, and there is the hole where the dowel rod will go. Now for the rock wall. I've cut some of the insulation foam to size, shaping it now around that line. I'm using that to act like a bit of a weir. When you make a dam or something, you'll often build out the the actual natural formation so that you can funnel that water. So I'm creating a weir. I need to create an extra block in there to house the central axle of the water wheel, and then I go through on all of this foam and I hand draw the stonework. I'm just doing that with a pencil. It goes into this foam really easily. I did try to use one of the texture rollers, and in the end I found I got a thicker line, a deeper indent if I drew that on, but I did draw over the impression that I had made from that texture roller. Now to fill a lot of the gaps, I'm using dust modeling clay and building up that bank. It gives me a little lip that the water doesn't go over and helps to cover up some of the gaps of the corrugated cardboard and the gaps at the bottom of that foam. Banks of the river I'm building up in exactly the same way as I have done on the river pieces. This rock face I'm now cutting in the staircase, or the rock stairs going up to the water mill. And again, I want to try and do this quickly and just not overthink it. I am cutting huge slabs out of there, but I'm keeping the slabs to act as rubble around that base afterwards. I'm also going to put some of those pieces into the river to act as like just boulders that haven't actually washed away because they're too big. I carve that out. I then use a file here to pluck out some of the rock face and sand it down a little bit and use some of the leftover dust modeling clay just to smooth out the rock pieces. At the top of the river, I'm also adding another little bank just to help shape the top of that river. I'm using a Stanley knife here to slice into this rock face to create striations in the rock to give a different effect. Now I'm just going back and forth, creating layers in there, and it comes out really well once it's painted up. Here you can see the build before I have textured the foam, but this is essentially build done. All the various components, very, very happy with this. One of these days I get around to using sculptor mold, but here is my multi-purpose filler, which I add sand to and then keep adding water until it gets to the right consistency. I wanted a fairly pasty sort of mix, and then I rub that all over that build. This is going over the areas that will be grass, the areas that will be water, and I try to keep it out of where the building is going to sit in those recesses. I don't want to go over the rock faces because they have already been sculpted to the way that I want to see that. But this goes over all of the rest of the build. I even rub it over the back of the build, as you'll see later, just to seal the back of this piece, help it to last a bit longer. Now to assemble the whole model and glue everything in place. I'm very happy with how that is looking. The build is done. Next video, we'll paint. Well, there you have the build process done. This is now ready for painting. If I do up the video for the build first and then we'll do a painting video later, that'll help to save it some time on each video. This is a fair bit different now to what it was in the original picture, but I'm very happy with how this has come out. The rock walls I think look great. Having the water wheel around the other side, I think that made a big difference. It opens up the front of the building. The river I think will look good once it's painted. It does look a little bit odd at the moment. Big build, but very satisfying, very, very satisfying. And I can't wait to see this attached with all of my other river pieces. It's going to look great on the board. I'm very, very excited about this. If you liked the build, make sure that you do hit that like button and leave a comment down the bottom, and make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you never miss an episode coming out. And until next time, keep crafting. Cheers.